schools, all the parent nights that I have been attending. This does seem loud. Sorry. It's, um, the parent nights, the welcome backs, the one other note, enrollments. I know this is something that we talk about in track quite a bit. It's early, but it seems as though we are relatively in line at this point with where we were last year. There'll still be some fluctuations here coming in after the 10th day of school. And so
in the past whole year. So I think, in my opinion, that the yonder pouches are a great and needed addition to our classrooms.
On the 12th and 13th of August, our staff welcomed our students at the PHS orientation, and it was great to see all of our new students and returning staff after the summer break. Students received their schedules, Chromebooks, and Yonder pouches. On that note, our open house is on the 12th of September from 6 to 7:30. We hope to welcome all of our students and families back home to PHS for the evening.
Thank you. That concludes Pioneer's activities and announcements.
Great, thank you very much. And Caitlin, thanks for joining. I'm sorry I didn't have your name handy. Perfect. Okay, we're going to move on to item 4, board reports, board member comments. Wait, do we have any, sorry, before we do that, do we have any association reports? Is that next? I guess it is, huh? It just said announcements. Okay, so we'll move on to item 4. Board reports, board member comments. This is for information only. Nevada Association of School Boards update.
Yes, I do have one. The professional development training and the joint meeting of the NASB board and directors, as everyone knows, will be held on the 6th and 7th of September in Elko. And the flyer for the annual conference was distributed today. I believe everybody should have got a copy of it. The plans for the conference are progressing, and Director Harris and the board have a great program planned with lots of options. It'll be very similar to the format of last year's conference. And the legislative work is starting to gear up. There'll be a lot of legislative updates after next week's meeting, as the legislative committee meets on September 4th, and then we'll be updating the joint committee on September 6th. And after that, I will be updating everyone. And that's my report for NASB.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go to, things are happening over here. We're going to go to trustee reports. Trustee Crossman.
Sure, thank you. For Fremont Elementary School, Dr. Ward is letting us know that they are focused on gearing up for their fall festival and creating a great experience for the families and their students. So mark your calendars for Friday, September 6th, starting at 4:30, and they're looking forward to a dunk tank with multiple staff members willing to give it a go there and get dunked. They're also going to have bounce houses, carnival games, and fun food. And they are still looking for a few raffle prizes from local companies that are willing to donate items that the families can buy tickets to win for those different items. So if anyone has an interest in that type of advertising at the Fremont Elementary Fall Festival, you can contact Dr. Ward and help her out. And then she just wanted to let everyone know that all the money that they raise from these events goes to the staff and student programming and incentives. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Trustee Varner.
Yes, I do have a report for Boardwick. Principal Arquette would like everyone to know that Boardwick is off to a great start this school year. They were so happy to see all of the students return last week, and they will be having their back-to-school potlucks coming up in September. And they ask everyone to please plan to attend and bring a dish to share. The dinner will start at 5:30 and will be followed by an informational night from the grade level teachers, and then an opportunity for parents to see their children's classrooms. And I have some dates here. September 10th will be for pre-K and kindergarten. September 11th, first grade. September 12th, second grade. September 17th, third grade. And I just lost it. Okay. I'm sorry about that. My phone hit the wrong button. And September 17th will be for third grade. September 18th will be for fourth grade. And September 19th will be for the fifth grade. And that's my report for Boardwick, but I also have one for Fritz Elementary. And Principal Brown would like to thank all of the Fritz families for a great start to the school year. He would also like to invite them to their first PTO meeting, which will be held on September 9th at 3:30 p.m. And that's my report for Fritz. But before I leave, if I could, I had the opportunity to sit and I had to pick up a student from Carson Middle School yesterday and today. And I wish I knew the crossing guard's name because I would really like to give him a lot of compliments. He waved at every car that went by, and he slowed down or attempted to slow down every car who was going over the speed limit. and he was pretty forceful about it. But he was, like I said, he waved at everybody and very friendly to everybody. So I don't know who it is, but I would like to pass on congratulations, I guess, to him for a job well done. Thank you.
Very nice, thank you. Trustee Walt?
Thank you. So for Empire Elementary School, they started off as a great year, and they've had excellent turnout to their meet and greet event on the 16th. And their ADA for the first week of school was at a 97.5%, which is fantastic. They are feeling very blessed and getting the new fencing for their back playground. They're really excited for that to go up. Yep. And he's not looking. And then their STEM program is continuing to grow and excel, and they're hosting their GSNN Summit again in September this year. It was October 16th of last year, but it will be September of this year, so please look for those dates of that as well. For Carson High School, great start to the year, and Mr. Karstens would like to thank the school board for their support on their cell phone pouch practice. Teachers have reported a high degree of success for student engagement in the classroom. Overall, they've had a lot of changes in this school year and are working out a few kinks in their systems and processes, but however, the staff is aligned in working together and to do whatever it takes to see that every student succeeds. Also, they would like to encourage students, families to purchase athletic wear to show their school spirit at different events, school, sporting events or any other events, and you can purchase that school apparel at carsonhighathletics.com. Also, last Tuesday, as the school board member for the Parks and Rec Commission, we had a meeting and we voted unanimously to recommend that the Board of Supervisors approves the funding that is giving to Parks and Rec to the city from Visit Carson City to do Centennial upper fields in all artificial turf. What does that mean? That means that one, less watering, but two, it also means that we could possibly have sports go a little bit longer, because right now Parks and Rec close the fields in November to March, to keep it dormant. This would allow for sports to continue, and it would also hopefully then encourage more tournaments, which is also an economic impact for the city. So it was voted unanimously, and it will go to the Board of Supervisors sometime this month, I think, or September. So we did vote for that.
Great, thank you very much. Trustee Clapham?
Thank you. Ms. Crookshanks reports from Mark Twain that they're off to a great start over there at Mark Twain. Students are excited to see each other and their teachers. They've kicked off the year with 2 weeks of social emotional learning using their new Harmony curriculum to get students familiar with the everyday practices. They're also excited to have some new tables and shade on the playground for the students this year, thanks to the fabulous PTO there. So thank you to them. Ms. Robinson, who's here tonight with us, thank you for joining. She reports that they had a great first week of school and their students worked in teams to create a team name, banner, and cheer. These teams will extend throughout the school year and their students will earn points for their school spirit attendance. They love seeing so many of the families at the sneak peek right before school started, and their back to school night will be September 17th from 5:30 to 7. So parents will have a chance to follow their child's schedule and meet all their teachers. And that concludes my report.
Great, thank you. Trustee Ramirez?
So from Dr. Conley from Eagle Valley Middle School, he reported that they are off to the smoothest start in many years. They are focused on team building and with students and establishing routines, expectations, and support. They're doing map testing this week, and also cookie dough fundraising will begin officially on September 5th with a school-wide assembly. Sales will continue for a few weeks and support numerous activities and functions sponsored by their awesome PTO. Their enrollment is 860 students, so they are off to a very good start, and they have 6 new teachers and 2 classified, and there are amazing individuals added to that have been added to the team. So concludes my report.
Thank you. I do not have a report for Pioneer, but we received one, so thank you very much. I will be coordinating with Dr. Molden going forward and also with Mr. Karstens, Principal Karstens. Now it's time if we have any association reports. Seeing none, we'll move on. And before we get to public comment, before I forget, wanted to make sure everybody knew that Mike Walker called, and Trustee Walker has a function at his school this evening, and he wasn't able to be in both places. So we certainly excuse his absence and wish him well tonight. And last meeting, I neglected to mention Trustee Ramirez, who had called ahead and let us know she was not going to be able to make it. So I apologize for not informing everybody last meeting. Moving on to public comments. Do we have any public comment, first of all, in person? Okay, seeing none. Well, we did get an email comment submitted from an Adam Woodrum, so I just wanted to put that on the record that we received that. And Renee, did we have anything else?
Trustee Cassiopo, my apologies, but at the last meeting, we also received a public comment via email from Carrie Finn, and that as well will be included in the permanent record, and the trustees did receive copies of that.
Correct.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. So we'll go ahead and close public comment, and we'll move on to item 7, adoption of CCSD test procedures and security plan for the 2024-2025 school year as required by NRS 390.275. This is for possible action, and presenting is Dr. Ricky Medina.
Yeah, good evening, Ricky Medina for the record. Yeah, so it's that time of the year again where I show up with pretty much the same test security plan it's been in place for the past 15 years. The purpose of the test security plan, and there are several different ones. The one that I see is probably the most important, is every student is required to participate in our state assessments. The state isn't really flexible with allowing kids not to test. They pretty much take the position that if we're able to provide instruction for a student for 6-7 hours a day, that student's in good enough shape to be able to take a test for a couple of hours. And so we are required to test every student. So therefore, it's important that we follow our test security procedures so that way kids actually get their results back. Because the worst thing for me is if a student does something like, if a lot of times we have kids that take their test, at the end of the test, they pull out their cell phone, their score then gets invalidated and they don't get their score. So they just kind of wasted a couple of hours of instructional time by not getting their results back. The other purpose of test security is to make sure that we protect the integrity of the tests. A lot of these state assessments are expensive. There's not a ton of test questions. There's not like a huge infinite bank of questions that they're pulling from. So if any of these test questions were to walk off, it limits us using those assessments the following year. And so a lot of the test procedures that are in here, that's the purpose of them, making sure that kids don't have cell phones, making sure we document everybody that comes into possession of the test. If our test coordinators check out tests at the beginning of the school day, they collect those tests, they count all the test booklets, they make sure that teachers sign their signatures saying which ones they're taking, which ones they're not. And so I would say that's kind of the meat and potatoes of this test security plan, is teachers being aware of what the kind of rules and procedures are. Another big component of test security is, actually, I'm going to come back to that one. The only significant change, and it's really not much of a change in this year's plan, is In the past, the MAP assessment, K through 8, K through 3 for reading, it's been considered a state assessment. This year, K through 8 for math and reading, it's being considered a state assessment because the state's in this transitional period where it's possible that we could move away from giving the Smarter Balance assessment and instead doing the MAP assessment. And if that were to happen, they need to be able to compare the results of those two tests. So this year, the state's in the process of putting in an amendment to their ESSA application so that way we'd be able to take the MAP assessment instead of the Smarter Balance. But this year, that means we have to take both of those tests. Last year, we only had 12 test irregularities. 5 of them pertain to the access test. The access test is a little bit different than some of the other tests. That's our English language test. And that we get kind of a list of students that are supposed to test from the Nevada Department of Ed. And we get the list of students really early on. So the state pulls the data somewhere around October, November, but we don't start testing until January or February. And so sometimes there's students that show up on that list that have exited from their other district, but they were never actually entered into the system as exiting. So last year we had 5 irregularities pertaining to that test. 3 of those were kids that started the test, but they didn't actually need to take it. They had exited before the previous year, but that information didn't come over from their previous district. And we had 2 students that started the wrong test. So there's quite a few students that have the same or very similar names. You might have like 7 different Ricky Medinas, and sometimes it's hard to tell which one is the one that is supposed to take which test. And usually those are caught right away. If it's caught right away, the company is able to regenerate those test tickets so that the right kid takes the right test. If not, oftentimes we have them complete the tests and then they switch the names afterwards. We had 1 tech issue. Usually we have tech issues because a lot of our assessments are you wear headphones and it's reading to you. So the teacher doesn't know if it's not reading to the kid or not, and the kid's never taken the assessment, so they don't know that it's supposed to be reading to them. So once again, if we catch those soon enough, we reach out to the test vendor and they start the test over. If not, if they complete the whole test, we have to report that as an irregularity. We had 2 kids, we're getting better at the cell phones and smartwatches. We had 2 kids that had irregularities with cell phones and smartwatches last year. And those weren't kids actually cheating on the test. It was, they pulled them out afterwards or the teacher realized that they had them and they weren't supposed to. So hopefully the Yonder pouches help with that. We did have 1 teacher last year that didn't follow the test procedures, allowed kids to have notebooks out on their desk during testing. So that's going to be a major part of our training this year, is making sure that our administrators go over that with our teachers to let them know that we have to follow the rules and procedures by the book. If the book says to read this verbatim, you have to read this verbatim, and making sure that we kind of follow all of those rules. Yeah. Did you all have any questions, comments, complaints?
I don't have a complaint, but these test irregularities, do they count against this, or is there any kind of, consequence to it?
Yeah, so there's kind of several things that happen. So one is 95% of every student subgroup has to participate in the state assessment. So if you have too many irregularities, those kids end up counting as not participating, and that could impact your star rating. Yeah, that's not good. It's also, like I said, the students don't get their test results. And I think that that's the kind of the biggest one. Like right now, we have a lot of kids that are coming in from homeschool, and we don't know where to place those students. And so if they have test results, we're able to place them where they need to go. So I would say that's the biggest problem with kind of irregularities.
So when we're talking about the procedures of online testing, it's mentioned for homebound, home hospital, or juvenile. What is home hospital?
Yeah. So homebound and home hospital. Tasha, do you want to explain the difference?
Tasha Fuson for the record. So a student can be placed in a homebound program if they have, for instance, a disability-related need, and maybe they're medically fragile, but they're actually being educated within the home or within a public environment. Home hospital is when we have students that are literally being like hospitalized, maybe a student who has cancer and is in a long-term treatment facility for intense medical intervention. So there's just a little bit of a different situation between those two programs and how we manage those programs. But usually it's dictated by an IEP or a 504 plan for those students. So we're still required to assess those students.
No, I understand that. I just didn't know what home hospital was.
Yeah.
But then if they have their own internet, they still have to use a school district Wi-Fi device?
Yeah. So a lot of the assessments, like there's secure browsers that have to be downloaded onto the computer. And so like we have to work with the technology department because it picks up like what server they're on. Yeah, and it's kind of a protection so that like kids don't log in and take the test from home.
Okay, I think you got our questions so far. Do you have anything else for us?
No, that was it.
Okay. Well, thank you. We appreciate that.
Thank
You always do a great job, Ricky, so thank you very much for your presentations.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move
It-
on to, oh,
It is a possible action
Oh, I'm
item, so
sorry.
if you could
It
approve
sure
it, we
is. I
would
was-
appreciate it, so we can
I'm
turn it into the
I'm on
state.
I'm on a mental vacation tonight. I don't know what's going on. So this is, as we all know, an action item.
I move that the Carson City School District Board of Trustees adopt the Carson City School District Test Procedures and Test Security Plan for the 2024 to 2025 school year as submitted in accordance with NRS 390.275.
Okay, motion, second by Molly, was that you? Okay. Any board discussion? Seeing none, any public comment on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Now we'll move on to item 8. Discussion and possible action to approve proposed changes to CCSD Policy 205, Instructional Supplies. This is a second reading and it's for possible action. Ms. Shuzan.
Thank you, President Casiopo. Last meeting, we discussed or reviewed Policy 205 on instructional supplies. There was a request from the board to simplify, if you will, the introductory paragraph. It was a bit redundant. So this is the way we have now changed this verbiage. I'll read it to you. The Carson City School District Board of Trustees shall supply the district's teaching staff and students with the supplies, materials, and equipment necessary for the implementation of approved courses of study. So that took and put the two sentences together so they weren't just repeating each other. One was students and one was staff. And that was the only requested change. So if there's not any other updates, then, or
Okay.
any questions?
Do we have any questions? If not, this is an action item.
I'll go in and make a motion.
Is-
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Rich.
Oh, okay.
We'll let Lupe make the next one.
I move that the Carson City School District Board of Trustees approve August 27th, 2024 as revised date for CCSD Policy 205, Instructional Supplies.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Second by Trustee Walt. Any board discussion on this? Seeing none, any public comment on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Move on to item 9, discussion and possible action to approve newly proposed CCSD policy 1006, leave for parents of children enrolled in school. This is the second reading for possible action. Mr. Sadler.
President Casiopo, members of the board, thank you very much. Dan Sadler for the record. Last meeting, we had discussed some language changes to what had been proposed for policy 1006, leave for parents of children enrolled in school. And so specifically, those changes are highlighted on the draft before you tonight. There was some feedback about changing the opening sentence as a belief statement or a commitment statement from the district, and then changing the unpaid leave to really what's in the specific statute, which is that the district is not required to pay an employee for any leave taken for this purpose. And then lastly, in consultation with Mr. Russell, we have been discussing some of these statutes not being included on the policy for when those change, not having to go back and revise the policy, so keeping a record of all of the statutes that are mentioned in policies on a document that is also accessible on the board docs.
Do we have any?
I move that the Carson City School District Board of Trustees approve August 27, 2024 as the adopted date for the CCSD Policy 1006, leave for parents of children enrolled in school.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Farner. Any further board discussion? Seeing none, any public comment on this item? Seeing none. Board, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion unanimously carries. We'll move on to item 10, discussion and possible action to approve newly proposed CCSD policy 1007, leave for nursing mothers. This is a second reading for possible action.
Thank you, President Casiopo. So no changes to this policy, with the exception of taking out the reference again to statute. There was some confusion because it's cited in multiple statutes. So keeping the reference to the Nevada Pregnant Workers Fairness Act, but again, striking the actual statute reference and keeping track of that separately. Just as a side note, I have had some conversations with Sheila Story recently, who is very resourceful and had already been reaching out to some community organizations about different grant opportunities that might be available to support some of the needs of the sites based on this as well. So just wanted to share that information.
Great. Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments for Mr. Sadler? Okay, seeing none. We have a motion?
Sure. I move that the Carson City School District Board of Trustees approve August 27th, 2024 as the adopted date for CCSD Policy 1007, leave for nursing mothers.
Thank you. Second by trustee Ramirez. Any board discussion on this item? Seeing none. Any public comment on this item? Seeing none. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion unanimously carries. We'll move on to item 11, discussion and possible action to approve newly proposed CCSD Policy 1010, pregnancy, childbirth, and related medical conditions. This is again a second reading for possible action. Mr. Sadler.
Thank you, President Casiopo, members of the board. The last item before you from HR this evening is policy 1010, representing all staff. Again, no changes based on the previous reading other than the strikeout of the statute and keeping the reference to the Federal Pregnancy Discrimination Act, as well as the Nevada Pregnant Workers Fairness Act.
Okay, thank you very much. Again, do we have any questions or comments for Mr. Sadler? If not, it's an action item. Molly? Oh, Matt, sorry.
I'll do it.
I thought it was this, not this.
Yeah, I move that the Carson City School District Board of Trustees approved August 27th, 2024 as the adopted date for CCSD Policy 1010, pregnancy, childbirth, and related medical conditions.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it. Go ahead.
Okay, Trustee Crossman? Any board discussion on this? Seeing none, any public comment on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sadler.
Thank you for your support.
We're going to move on to item 12, discussion and possible action on selecting a topic for the 2024-2025 Carson City School District Board of Trustees sponsored American Citizen Essay Contest. This is for possible action. Superintendent Fueling.
Thank you, President Cassiopo. Good evening, trustees. This evening is that time of year again to establish a topic for the American Citizen Essay Contest. As you may remember, this essay contest began in the wake of 9/11 as a way to honor the memory and events of that day. There are funds set aside to for awards, cash awards, one for elementary, middle, and high school level individually. Any public, private, charter, or homeschooled student in Carson City has historically been allowed to participate, but participation is voluntary, although I can make my child do it, I'm pretty sure. Essays are judged based on their adherence to the topic, originality of thought, traits of writing, ideas, organization, voice, word choice, sentence fluency, and conventions. So in your packet it's pretty incredible how long this has been going on, and I was reading through the titles yesterday, and you've covered a lot of ground in 20 plus years. But so it's that time, and just to note too, the timing of this has been moved up to coincide with Constitution Day and Social Studies Week, and so it really kind of fits nicely into that. It's really good timing in that regard. We had some great participation last year, and certainly hope to see that again. So at this point, I think it's just a discussion of the board to talk about a topic.
No, thank you. Yeah, like Trustee Fueling said, we have the option of recycling what we've used in the past. We can pick a new topic. Sometimes everybody here has the opportunity to take a look at this and see if something jumps out at them. But if you have an idea of what you'd like to use, we certainly can do that. Molly, you're right. Oh, did I? He's a trusted individual. And man. Good night, everybody. So I do apologize, Superintendent Fueling. It's been a long week and it's only Tuesday. I don't know what to tell you. No, you're good. You were just looking at me and I was like, what did I do?
No, the only, I did have a thought, but I didn't have a topic. But my thought, I think, is you may think it's pretty close to what we did last year, but what I'm seeing in society like now is the fact that volunteerism has went after COVID has went downhill like drastically. And, I don't know that then we're teaching, as parents and as, elders, we're supposed to teach by example. And I don't know that we're teaching our kids about, civic engagement and what that actually means. Because and I understand with inflation, I want money for my time. However, I don't know that people understand that, the world works with everybody working together, and a large amount of that is volunteerism. and it's civic engagement on that end as well. You know, whether, you know, you volunteer for, I'm going to shout out for nonprofits, or if, you know, you're volunteering in the schools or what that means. But I think even at the elementary level, for kids to know that volunteerism is important, but then to also respect and appreciate the volunteers that they actually get in the classroom. You know, what difference those volunteers, you know, can make, those foster grandparents or whatever the case may be. But I know it kind of aligns a lot with, imagine you're making your community a better place as a good citizen. But I just, something if we could tie it in with civic engagement. But that was only my thought. I don't have a topic.
Okay.
I like that idea. I'm trying to think, I'm just kind of wording with it, and maybe Mr. Sadler can play with Chat GPT over there and come up with a question for us. I mean, Trustee Carini used to come up with some good topics when he would come, so I'm missing him tonight because he would come in and be like, what about this? And we'd go, oh, okay, that sounds great.
I have to say,
but I do like that idea. Like, why is volunteering important to healthy communities
for democracy.
or democracy? Yes.
That came from ChatGPT, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just did. I was a little disappointed in the answer ChatGPT gave me, but democracy was there. So that what it said is the importance of civic engagement in a democracy. But I thought that might be a little hard for elementary.
I turned off my mic. Even middle schoolers might have a hard time with why is civic engagement important. So what about, start with a lead, like where we're at. Why is volunteering important for a democracy? What are the benefits, maybe? I don't know.
No, I think let's, Rich, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I think we could probably massage that, but also, you know, we have an election year, and I just had a thought is, why is it important for citizens to participate and vote in local, state, and national elections, and participate in the election process?
Yeah, and then I had a thought, and I don't, mine, I'm afraid, comes out a little negative, and I don't want it to come out that way, but it's current. And I was thinking the Pledge of Allegiance mentions our country being indivisible. And, you know, when you turn on the TV and you watch politics, you know, we're a bit divided on things. And maybe just the importance of, you know, I guess, respect and, you know, when you're not agreeing with people, finding a way to agree to disagree in a positive, productive way. You know, and the reason I thought about it was, one, because of that, and I just thought about students on the playground. You know, students are learning how to communicate and, you know, and work in a social environment all the time. And, you know, and it starts out rough, and as they become, you know, more mature, they typically get better at that. And I thought, you know, it had some merit if we could massage that into something.
I just had I did just a couple ideas. One of the things I really like, I sit on the Jordan Woodward Memorial Scholarship, and I'm always impressed with the kids that talk about how their families got here or what America means to them. And so one of the topics I thought just simple, was what America means to my family, why America is different, what I want to see in America, and then just kind of that civic engagement, how I can help America starting in my local community was just something I thought of.
So I really, whoops.
Sorry, I've been writing. Sorry, is it okay if I go?
I was really, so I do like Richard's idea about the elections being an election year. So I put it in ChatGPT, and it comes up with a voice for every citizen, the importance of participation in elections.
And I was working with Joe's idea, And I've got the Pledge of Allegiance mentions that our nation is indivisible. Considering divisions within our society today, what steps can you take to help make your family, school, and community more unified?
I thought that's exactly what I said. So we have, is that 4 potential options?
I'm leaning towards the making it unified and the voting. So I'm not sure
One of those
between the
two?
two. Those are my,
Okay. Okay. And I'm fine either way. I don't,
Mr. President,
just,
I don't know if it's helpful for you guys at all, but you guys did do a vote, the importance of the vote in 2020.
okay. Ah,
that was the anniversary of suffrage for women.
that's right.
I withdraw my motion, or my idea.
Look at that. That's what happens when you're standing in line and everybody takes a step back. So,
I'm going to fix yours a little bit better because after it says, considering divisions in our society today, what steps can you take to help create unity? So then we don't have to go so long. It would be a little shorter.
yeah, sorry, say that one more time.
The Pledge of Allegiance mentions that our nation is indivisible. Considering divisions within our society today, what steps can you take to create unity? Or do you want it to be in your family, school, and community?
Would that be too advanced for young elementary school kids?
From what I've seen coming out of these elementary schools, I don't think we can stump these kids too easily. But I would defer to Tasha. You think that's fine?
Tasha, you think it would be all right for the younger elementary kids?
So hearing it would be okay?
I'm just going to say this because I started laughing when I read indivisible. I remember in elementary school thinking that meant invincible. And I was like, no, we've never been beaten as a country. But and then I learned the difference between indivisible and invincible. So
I thought it was invisible. Okay, I'm fine with that, that latest edition or edit, if you will.
President Cassioppo, as we finalize this, if we get some feedback from any teachers just to fine tune things a little bit,
Please.
would that be okay?
That'd be acceptable. That'd be appreciated. So, okay, this is an action item. Does someone want to make a motion on this?
I move that the Carson City School District Board of Trustees approve, quote, the Pledge of Allegiance mentions that our nation is indivisible. Considering divisions within our society today, what steps can you take to create unity? As, end quote, as the topic for the 2024-2025 board-sponsored American Citizen Essay Contest.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Ryan, does that need to include language that it could be changed or?
Yeah, it would just be subject to the staff finalizing it.
Yes.
In consultation with the teachers.
I would amend the motion to include subject to edits and modifications by staff.
Great. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second by Trustee Waltz. Any further board discussion? Seeing none, any public comment on this? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Move on to item 13, approval of the consent agenda. This is for possible action.
So moved.
Okay, motion by Trustee Varner. Do we have a second? Second by Trustee Ramirez. Any board discussion? Seeing none, any public comment on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, item 13 is approved. Item 14, informational items for discussion only. No action will be taken. Does the board have any questions or input on the informational items listed? Seeing none, how about item 15, requests for future agenda topics? Okay, seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. That was quick. And I purposely fumbled up here hoping.